Hello and welcome to Fireteam Chapter 4, Episode 3. In the previous two episodes we started work on our scoring system in our game and keeping track of that score behind the scenes. Now in the last episode we started work on the widget. So all that's left now is to make that widget work. So let's start putting the code behind the scenes and making our widget work to display this information to the player during a match. So let's get started. So last time we got our UI side of our scoreboard displaying. Now we need to hook these up. So in our player scoreboards here, we need to edit this and edit individual cards here to get to this screen. We're then going to go to its graph settings and we need to tell it to update this with information when we get told to update it. So we make a custom event in here. And we're going to call this one update. And this thing's going to have a couple of variables as inputs. The first one is going to be the name of the player that you want. That'll be a string. And then you also want their score. Let's call it new score. That'll be the integer. And first of all, we're just going to promote these to variables. So we have them as variables on here. Like so. And then we're going to change the various things on here. So we need to make the player name changeable. So let's go to the design view, click on player's name, make it visible, variable, sorry, and we'll call this one player name text. And this one will be the score. So let's do that one. Player score text is variable. So make sure you got is variable ticked for both of those. And in the graph here, I can drag out my player name text to set text, and then plug in our string name in text there, and it'll convert it for you. Next, we're going to do the score. So I'm going to drag out my player score text and do set text, and I'm going to drag out my new score. And I'm going to drag this into my in text there. And that's it. The last thing we need to change is the progress bar. So the progress bar should be their progress to winning. So I'm going to name it as such. We'll do win progress. And that should already be variable. Just make sure it is. And then we're going to drag that out. Drag that out. And do set %. And we need to know not just how many points the player has, which we have here, but also how much does it need to win. So what we're going to do is going to get that from the game state. We can't get it from the game mode because the game mode only exists on the server, and all the players need to know how many points they need to win. So on that game state, we're going to make that a variable. So go to our systems folder and go to online game state. So in here, you're going to add a new variable, and this will be the win threshold. And you saw this similar variable over on the game mode, so these two will be in sync with each other. They'll be the same. Power that, and we'll set a default of that to 25. Okay, back to here in a moment. So we're going to go back to our scoreboard card, and our percentage here is going to come from our online game state. Now we could just do a cast to and get it, but that's kind of annoying because you have to do a cast every time you update the score, and that's not changing, so there's no real point to do so. So instead what we're going to do is have a construct event, get that reference for us. And what I mean by that is we're going to do get game state and then cast to our online game state. Now remember, all of our game states will be deriving from this online game state. So the deathmatch one will derive from this, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then promote that to a variable. So now on the set % here, I can drag out my as online game state, and I can now get the win threshold from it. I've got the win threshold and how many points I have. Therefore, if I want to make it turn into a percentage, I can easily do this with normalize to range. So normalize, right click somewhere, get normalize to range, and there it is. So the value we want is going to be this new score. Plug it in and it auto convert it for you. And again, with win threshold, it auto converts it for you. And that'll be our percentage. and that is the update done for this card. So now it comes down to updating these cards by calling this update function. So we're going to go to our player scoreboard here, and we're going to go to our graph, and we need to tell our cards here to update when they've been set up. Okay, so we're going to make a function on here called init cards, so for like initialize cards, and in here we're going to get the game state, get the player array, which is the default thing that's built into the game state. This is all the controllers, sorry, the player states that exist in the game. All these player states have access to their name. So for init cards here, I want to change the first position card to the first one that's in this list. Okay, so I'm going to drag this out and do get player name. Also, so not get, just do get, sorry. Get copy and then get player name. And we're getting the number 0 because that's the first one in the list, and this will be for position 1. So on my designer view, we can call this one position 1 card. Next one we'll call position 2. And this one will be your position card. Okay, so back to the graph here. So this is position 1, so get position 1 and then do update. And you can see here it's going to ask for the name, comes from there. Score will be 0 because at the start of the game you'll start with a 0 score, so that's fine. And then we do for position 2, so position 2 card, update. So the name is going to come from our player array again. But this time we want to check to make sure that we actually have a valid player that we want to use in the next position. So on player array, drag this out and do is valid index and change this to 1. This will check to make sure that you've got at least 2 players in there. If it doesn't, then we want just to leave like a dash or a line or blank or something. And the way we do that is with a select string node. So drag it out and do select string, and that'll be your condition for the select string. Now if it's true and it does have something there, we're going to use get player name but from a different get. So this player array here, we do get a copy. This time we're using the first index, and from there we can get the player name, and that'll be into A. So that's position 2 done. Now we're going to do position U. So we need to take out your position, do update, and this one's a bit simpler because all we're going to do is get player controller, get player state, and then get the name. Okay, so I initialized all of these up with 0 in there. Score and the name is on display. Okay, so that's that bit done. So let's add that onto our event graph, and we put on the construct event, and we'll just drag out init cards. Okay. Next, we need to tell our game state that their score has been updated. So last time in the last chapter we worked on the game state and we put in there an event dispatcher called onScoreUpdated. We want to use that now. So I'm going to get the game state and cast to online game state. Plug that in. And on here you're going to drag this out and do find event on score updated. Plugging the rest in. So, then finally on the event we're going to drag out of here and do create event, and we're going to create a matching event here and call this one update scoreboards. Okay, it's going to give us the player scoreboard and the team scoreboard. So on this menu here, we're going to might as well keep track of both of these things. So let's drag out player scoreboard, promote that to a variable. Drag out team scoreboard, click that, promote that to a variable. And then you want to get an ordered list. And so this is where it comes in a bit tricky because maps by default aren't ordered. Okay, they're clumped together. So we make our own custom ordering system. So let's make a new function here, and we do get ordered scoreboard. That way we can find out who's in first, second, third, and so forth. Okay, so the first thing we need to know is what is the unsorted scoreboard we need to check. That could be an input or integers, and we'll call this one unsorted scoreboard, and we'll make that a map with an integer as the value. We're then going to use a sequencer, or sequence rather, just to give it a bit more organization, easier to break it apart. So the first thing we do is we're going to take the unsorted scoreboard and break out all its keys. So do unsorted scoreboard and type in keys. Okay. We then are going to store this as a local variable, so it's temporarily there. So promote local variable, and we'll call this one L unsorted keys. And then we want to get the length of this scoreboard as well. So you're going to drag out from our array here, and we get the length by looking at the last index, and we'll promote that to our local variable. And we'll plug that into there. Okay. The other then is going to take all these and do its thing on it. So we need to know, in fact, whether or not a swap has occurred on this. So on our local variables here, we're going to make a new variable for L swap occurred. And on the then one, we're going to drag out on swap occurred and put that into a branch. Okay. Now, if it's true, we're going to turn off LSwap occurred because we don't need it anymore. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to do a for loop. So we're going to use it by the length. So drag out length here and do for loop. And that'll be in the last index there. Okay. Let's promote the index here to local variable L current index and loop body. Okay. Okay, so next we need to do the actual math to actually sort this out into whether or not it should be swapped. So we know what one we're currently looking at, and then we need to do the various jobs in here. So I'm going to take out my unsorted keys, and we're going to get that value that we're currently looking at on here. So drag out the index, put that into that length there. Now I also want to do the one before it as well. So I'm going to take out the index here, do minus, and put in -1, which you've got, and then I'm going to use the get again on this. So we've now got two things: one current and one past, right directly behind it. And we're going to find these two values inside our scoreboard. The unsorted keys. Sorry, not unsorted keys, sorry. My bad. We need this unsorted scoreboard here. There you go. Unsorted scoreboard. And that will go into a find. Okay. And do the same again. Bottom one. Okay. And then I'll check to see if the one we found in our unsorted keys is greater than the one we've got on our person currently. And we'll find there, we do greater than this value. Then I'll put that into branch. Okay. Okay, so if that is true, that means we've found a successful swap to take place. So we're going to take out our unsorted keys and do swap array elements, and we'll plug that into true, and we're swapping around here the current index. So drag out L current index, and we're swapping it with the L current index subtract 1. Yep, that'll do. And at the end here, you're going to tell swap has occurred, as done here. Otherwise, what happens is it would get stuck in a loop and just keep hitting the same. It would just keep doing it. Right, so hit compile there and go to our event graph. Okay, so let's drag out our get ordered scoreboard. Plug that in, and we use the unsorted scoreboard from the let's say this player scoreboard here. Okay, so and this is going to output this sorted keys. That's one thing I forgot to do. So yeah, on our ordered scoreboard here, we need to return on this loop here, a return node completed, and the return is going to be output for the sorted scoreboard, and that will be our unsorted keys. Sorry, not unsorted scoreboard, sorted keys, and that'll be an array. Let's say. Yeah, and then we're just going to put in our local variable unsorted keys. Okay. Right. Oh wait, hold on. It's going in the wrong place. Get down here. See me putting the wrong one. But there we go. Okay, so that's that function done. So on the event graph, we're going to do this, and then we are going to promote this sorted keys here to a variable. And then on the sequence, we're going to update each one of these things. So we're going to have then 0 updating player, the first player, second player, and then you. So the first player, pretty simple. We're going to do our get the player name from the ID. So we're going to go and get our sorted keys. Get and put player in the first position is 0. And I want to find their score, which is simple enough. I just do a find on the player scoreboard. Find and plug that in there. But to get the player name though, we need to make a function here to be able to get the player name from the ID. So get player name from ID. And what this is doing is going to go through all the game states, or the game player states, sorry. Get game state, then drag out and do player array, and then do a for each loop. And for each player state, they don't forget have their own player ID. So I need to know the player ID I'm looking for in here. So let's add an input here for the player ID. And that won't be an array, it'll be a singular variable. And I'm going to take the array element here, get the player ID from the player state, and check to see if this is equal to the one we're looking for, which will be this player ID. Get the player ID. And if that is the case, then we'll put that into a branch. And we now get the player name from the player state. So drag out from here, get player name. Now I can return node that player name there. So call it one player name, and we'll add a boolean on it as well to say that we found the player correctly. So this one will be found player, and that'll be ticked. On completed though, if it does eventually complete it, it means that we didn't find the player. Therefore, we're going to go down here, chuck it into completed, and then unknown name. The player name is going to be called unknown name, and found player will be false. File save. Back to the event graph. So let's drag out our get player name from ID, and we're going to add a reroute node for here. Then 0. The player ID is just going to be our our get here, and the update will come from position 1. So get position 1 card, get, and then to update. And here we've got the name from here and the score from here. Okay, you know what? Do that again for position 2. So I'm going to copy this, paste it down here, that into then 1. And just drag on position 2 card onto your position 1 card and it'll change it for you. And make sure you change the get here to 1 rather than 0. Okay. And lastly is our own player character one. So we're going to do get player controller. So get our local controller. Get the player state from there. Oh. Get player state. And from there I can get the player name. And I'm going to tell my your position card to update. The player name. And I want to then take the player ID from the player state. And I'm going to find it in our scoreboard. Player scoreboard, get, and then from there find player ID. Okay, and there we go. So now we've got the code set up for our scoreboards update. Essentially what is happening here, we're doing a sort of sorting algorithm to sort our keys out from our map, so they're all in a nice order. And we're going to make it in the next episode, bind this to actual events in the game that will happen. And there we go. We've now got a widget in the corner of our screen that is ready to start working in our matches. Speaking of which, in the next episode, we're going to work on our match flow. This is setting up the game mode so that the players will come in, get a fresh score, and then go out with a new score with a winner decided by the game mode. You can watch that next episode right now over on patreon.com/Ryan Laley, when you catch all my videos early before everyone else from just $1 a month. Massive thank you to all my patrons and YouTube members for their continued support. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye everyone.
I'm ready to play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it. I'm ready to do it. I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now. I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time.